Stanford Maples Pavilion in Stanford, California, just to our first media timeout with Texas leading 4-0 early with Fran Fraschilla. I'm Doug Sherman, and what have we seen so far here tonight, Fran?
Well, I think Stanford, without the ability to push the ball and get easy opportunities to score, has struggled early. And so without Robert Cartwright, without a pure point guard, they have to manufacture everything through their half-court offense. Haven't been able to do that so far. For Texas, we saw Cam Ridley early, and a guy that we think, based on what he's done in the early season, could be a very dominant big man in the Big 12.
And so Ridley scored 2 points to begin the game. Taylor, as you may have just seen, with the second two for Texas. Ridley coming off a tremendous game. The 6'10 senior from Houston messed around and nearly got a triple-double. 19 points, 11 rebounds, a program record 9 block shots against Appalachian State.
Well, and he's in the best shape of his career. His senior year under Shaka Smart, who calls him by far their best player. And you're looking at a large man who's very athletic and agile. And as you mentioned earlier, Doug, he had a good sophomore season. First team all Big 12 defensive team. Last year was just a muddle when you think of the chemistry they had, not necessarily off the court, but trying to work in Jonathan Holmes, Miles Turner, Ridley, Lammert. Didn't go his way, but so far his senior year, outstanding. And you like the fact that he's bought into the new coach.
And he says he feels bouncier, Fran, more athletic, and he's got a chance to catch Chris Mim for the all-time shot block record in Texas history. Comes into play tonight, 48 shy of the record.
Third all-time, obviously. And
you've been through this before, Fran, with 4-year program guys, and they realize, hey, the end is near. I've got to take advantage of what little time I have left.
This kid, I've been around this kid for 4 years covering Texas basketball. He's a sweetheart. You know, big guys can normally be that way. With him, it's been a confidence and conditioning issue. That has really evolved this season. You know, we'll talk about Shaka Smart tonight, but the one thing that he brings is a positive energy to Texas basketball. And he has really bonded with his big man, and it shows early. And you see Darren Horn on the right, former head coach at South Carolina and Western Kentucky, now a member of the staff.
And our former colleague here
That's
at ESPN.
Right. That's right. How could I forget that?
Stanford with the basketball. And Roscoe Allen misfires. Rebound comes to Texas. There's the speed of Taylor. He's going to have a chance for three. The foul against Christian Sanders.
This is what he does now. When you talk about the fastest guys in college basketball, he has to be in the conversation. Good kick ahead by Eric Davis. And you see Taylor, once he feels the contact, you just might as well throw it up there and see if you can get the N1, and he did right there.
Now, he was a likely candidate to transfer after last year, but then with the coaching change, he just took to Coach Smart. His family took to Coach Smart, and it became an easy decision to stay.
Yes, and he needed to, quite frankly.
So far, all Texas on the farm. Longhorns 7-0 over the Cardinals.
Cashback cards.
Longhorns looking for their 6th straight win. Now this is their first true road game of the year. They've already traveled, Fran, 20,000 miles. But the trip to Northern California, the first time in their 11 games, they're on somebody else's home floor.
Exactly. They've already been to Shanghai as part of the China game with Washington, the Pac-12's China game, and then also been to the battle for Atlantis. Look at that travel. I wonder, does the NCAA let you keep your frequent flyer miles? I need to check on that. Knowing the NCAA, probably don't, but that's good for at least one free ticket, one free coach ticket right there, right?
At least
20,000 miles.
My goodness, you could take your whole family. Off the bounce, Sanders hangs in the lane, and the Cardinal is on the board.
I like this kid, Christian Sanders out of Houston. He's had to fill in this year. He's not. I don't think he's a pure point guard. He's kind of a combo guard, but really has held the fort down really nicely.
Prince eBay lost it on the way up. Stanford basketball.
Here's a senior from Houston. See him get to the rim, draws contact, and he just neutralizes the shot blocking ability of Prince eBay by getting to his chest and eliminated the vertical reach. Here's some havoc.
Nice follow-up by Connor Lambert, the senior from San Antonio, with his first two.
Look how long Lambert is on the point of that 1-2-1-1 pressure. This is a little more havoc than you'll see in terms of that full court pressure, in part because of the lack of depth at the point guard spot for Stanford.
Hand check called against the freshman Eric Davis Jr. out of Saginaw, Michigan. By the way, Eric Davis's mom has a very appropriate name, her given name for this time of year. It's Merry Christmas.
Well, Happy New Year. What's her name?
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year. Well, that's a great name. That's a great name. And sisters, White Christmas, maybe, or
perhaps.
Okay.
No. But and it is.
That is a great name.
M-E-R-R-Y.
I remember Rakeem Christmas. I remember Deontay Christmas from Temple, right?
Mm-hmm. You know something I just realized, and I'm a Syracuse grad. I've watched many Syracuse games. Rakeem Christmas wears the uniform number 25 because December 25th is Christmas. I didn't realize. Texas with the 9-point lead and a little bit more havoc here.
Yes, and just a deflection out of bounds makes the Stanford team now have to take the ball on a spot throwing. But watch the pressure here. Trapping without fouling. That leads to the easy basket by Eric Davis Jr. You know, it's interesting about Shaka Smart's team because if you look at the numbers, they are not the type. There's the difference between the havoc of VCU and this year's Texas team. Only 7% steal rate per 100 possessions. And you see where that ranks. But they've actually, part of that is because they played really good half-court defense this year because they have size and shot blockers on the inside. So their turnover rate is still pretty good, but they're not using the full court pressure as much as they did at VCU.
The other big difference is they don't have a guy named Briante Weber.
Briante Weber, one of the great defensive players of the last decade in college basketball, there's no question.
If not for the injury he suffered last year, he'd be the all-time steals leader in NCAA history.
That's right. What a great player he was.
As Shaka told us yesterday, he was a one-man havoc.
Yes.
Spin, Roscoe Allen, tough shot. He'll go to the line for two.
Well, with Reed Travis out indefinitely, a lot of the scoring and rebounding is going to be on the shoulders of this young guy, Roscoe Allen.
One of three Allens, and the one who is not related to the other two. Monday, the most wonderful time of the year, continues with the Miami Beach Bowl at 2:30 Eastern on ESPN. Running back Marlon Mack leads 8-4 South Florida against Brandon Doty and the 11-2 Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. Game also streaming live on Watch ESPN.
You know, the common denominator in that game is the coach Willie Taggart at South Florida. He was an outstanding quarterback at Western Kentucky for Jack Harbaugh. He was recruited to Western Kentucky by Jim Harbaugh when Jim was still playing quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. And you say, how does that happen? Jim would be a part-time coach in the offseason recruiting for Western Kentucky, and he got Willie Taggart to leave Florida, go to Western Kentucky, and it all comes full circle because Willie is now back as a coach at South Florida, has him in a bowl game, and he's coaching against his old team that he recruited, probably half that team.
Fran, this is why I love working basketball games with you, because I always learn something about college football.
Well, Willie Taggart was a great player and led Western Kentucky to 1AA, I believe at that time, national championship. That's not how you're supposed to do it, but nice use of the window by this freshman from the Bay Area.
Cameron Walker, 6'7", 206. His numbers won't catch your eye, but at that size and being used the way he is now, he can be a real difference maker for Stanford.
Well, he's going to have to be because he's going to get an opportunity this year to play a lot of minutes. He'll play some 1, some 2, and some 3. And Doug, you saw these guys in Brooklyn come back from 21 down, and Cameron Walker was part of that comeback, I believe.
I'm telling you, we had them back-to-back days, and they got blown out by Villanova, looked awful. So you figure, well, they can't do that 2 days in a row. They come out against Arkansas and are equally as bad for the first half, and then the light switch flipped, and they may have saved their season right there. And since that time, it's been a different team. With that Arkansas game, they've now won their last 3. Tough shot in the lane, off the mark by Tevin Mack. Here comes Stanford, down 6 with the basketball, 7 minutes in. Quick first step, Dorian Pickens back out to Roscoe Allen. Here's Humphrey, turns to face, gives it back to Roscoe Allen.
Got a young team on the floor right now for Stanford. 3 sophomores, 2 freshmen.
Marcus Allen, junior from Las Vegas,
nice
strong
move
to the bucket.
Well, once he didn't utilize the ball screen on the wing, Texas needed to rotate over and cover that drive. They weren't able to do it.
Corner 3, Tevin Mack, nothing but net.
I watched this kid practice in October, and he was flat out shooting the ball. The percentages don't show it right now, but he is going to be a very, very good player. All 3 of Shaka Smart's freshmen are going to be outstanding.
Taylor drops it off for the open 3, left well short. Lammert able to save it. Longhorns still with it. Shot clock at 20. Now they're saying we've got to reset the shot clock, and so that's why the whistle comes. Well, there you saw the unselfishness of Isaiah Taylor in transition. He could have gone right to the basket if he wanted, forced a shot. Instead, he felt that Mack, who had just hit a shot, was on his hip. So they're going to review the shot clock and see where they should put it. Somewhere less than 30, but not as far down as it was at 20.
You know, we talked about changing the culture at Texas, and, you know, that may sound like a cliche, but Rick Barnes, who took 16 teams to the NCAA tournament in 17 years. I work for Rick Barnes, and I know him well. And, you know, honestly, things got stale at the end. They really did. He got a chance after he was fired to go right to Tennessee. They hired him 2 days later. But Shaka Smart, the thing that really impresses me, when I was at practice in the fall, he spent the last 6 or 7 or 8 months not just coaching basketball, but getting to know these young men as people. And, you know, for example, if they don't text him back, he said, I'm going to take him. If I text you at 11 o'clock at night, you don't text me back, I'm taking away minutes from you. In other words, I want to have that connection with you guys. I want to know what's going on, you know, with my guys. And he's done a great job of really building relationships.
Tough shot. Yep. Isaiah Taylor with 7 early points for the Longhorns. I would think there's the chance that not every 18 to 22-year-old would receive that very well, but with him, he seems to have a way to do that.
Well, it takes time. You know, you have to build equity with players with random acts of kindness, and they got to know that you're more than just a guy yelling at them every day.
Roscoe Allen off the mark. Rebound, Shaquille Clare. Davis, no. Stanford with it, down by 8. Off the bounce, Sheffield, and he's going to be called for the offensive foul.
Well, Isaiah Taylor, Doug, is back home in the Bay Area, trying to make an impression on those 50-plus family and friends. He is getting it done early.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by K Jewelers. Every kiss begins with K. And the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Using the screen, left the floater short, got it back, it hits! Second chance opportunities for Texas have been a gigantic factor in this game. Page to the baseline, whips it underneath, and Johnson ties the game. Taylor, no! Felice!
Well, that was last Saturday, the first signature win of the Shaka Smart era in Austin, Texas. They committed only 8 turnovers, and the man who had the game-winning shot did the job for his new coach, who brings a whole new culture.
Yep, and this is what you have to do. You got to have a plan. They have a plan of positive energy, create accountability, hold everybody accountable to what you want done as far as your high standards. Get to know your players, and then key thing here, build trust in a pressure situation. That pressure situation happened last Saturday afternoon at the Irwin Center when they beat North Carolina. It was a culmination of 8 months of the weight training, the practices, the meetings with the players, and changing their mindset. And we saw that great atmosphere on Saturday night. And as a guy that's taken over programs that were both winning and losing, I can relate to that. I can remember a time when I got the St. John's job, my first team meeting, my starting point guard showed up with a bag of Wendy's. He was going to eat lunch in my meeting. That guy's a broadcaster right now, by the way. And I had to tell him, no, we don't do that here, okay? Right. And we're changing the mindset of having a serious opportunity to be successful, and that's what Shaka has done.
And with that young man especially, Isaiah Taylor already with 9 points in his homecoming game in the Bay Area.
And by the way, his uncle Terrell Lowry was a pretty good basketball player at LMU and baseball player, right?
Yeah, he played several years in the big leagues as an outfielder.
There are good bloodlines there.
6th turnover already by Stanford, and the Texas version of havoc is causing this Stanford team that doesn't have a dominant point guard some trouble here in the early going.
You know what I like about pressing on the road? It creates energy for your own team. It's not a loud atmosphere tonight in the building. And you see a little 2-3 zone now by Stanford.
Tied up inside, and the foul on the rebound. Shaquille Clare is called for the personal. There's a good look at the Maryland transfer, 6'8" junior from the Bahamas, and a valuable piece coming off the bench this year for Texas.
Yes, he's what we call a below the rim guy. That's not necessarily a negative. It's just that he uses his wide body, big girth, and carves out space without having to get over the rim in terms of coming up with rebounds.
Here's Dorian Pickens at the line, had 16 off the bench in Tuesday's win over DePaul. Knocks down the first.
Now this is another one of those sophomores that Johnny Dawkins expects big things of. This kid can really score points off the bench. Young man from the Phoenix area.
Out of Pinnacle High School, averaging nearly 11 points per game. Does a lot of good things well for the Cardinal, including free throws.
And you see a little bit of 2-2-1 pressure now by Stanford. Usually they'll press back to zone, and that's what they've got right here. A little 2-3 zone. The last possession, Texas shot it very quickly versus the zone.
Eric Davis Jr. back to Taylor with the left hand. Able to finish off the window again.
Great drive right there. That time he carved up that zone with excellent dribble penetration, but he got it because the ball swung side to side a couple times.
You can see why he is a Wooden Award preseason top 50 for National Player of the Year. He is excellent for the Longhorns, who lead by double figures.
Well, here's an example. We've seen Isaiah Taylor operate in transition, but watch him go right through the middle of the zone and then uses that left hand to get by Michael Humphrey. And a good finish with that left hand.
And we have seen him, Fran, finish on the right side, the left side. He's 5 for 6 from the floor with the game high 11 points so far. So back to the free throw line, Stanford. And the bonus to come for Sheffield.
Now this young man's come a long way to attend Stanford. He's out of Atlanta. Another one of those promising young players Johnny Dawkins is building around. We mentioned the loss of Chasem Randall and Anthony Brown a year ago. Team somewhat in transition.
And he was somebody singled out immediately by Johnny Dawkins after their win over DePaul as part of what was a very good effort by the bench. Lefty shot by Lambert off the rim. Pickens the rebound. Stanford back the other way, down by 8. It took the Cardinal 5 full minutes to get its first points of the night. Trying to hang with the Longhorns here, just past the midpoint of the first half. Roscoe Allen. And he is able to knock down the shot. 5 points for Allen. The NBA on Christmas Day tradition continues on ABC and ESPN with 5 of the best gifts, best games that anyone could ask for. This quintuple header starts at noon Eastern on ESPN, and all games are also streaming live on Watch ESPN.
You know how many people are going to sit through 5 games? Quite a bit.
A lot. And it's true. It has become a tradition that you look forward to. And it used to be a couple of games, and it just keeps growing and growing. get a chance to start with Anthony Davis. That's not a bad way to start your Christmas NBA hoops consumption. Boy,
how about this guy? How about the homecoming he's having, Isaiah Taylor?
Already at his season average with the 13 points.
You know what you love about Texas so far in the first 12 minutes? Watch the man-to-man defense. Pressure everywhere. Good help.
Quick release by Pickens. Back the other way. Davis able to answer.
He's not going to hesitate. Love this young guy out of Saginaw, Michigan. Same high school to produce Jason Richardson, one of the key guys for Tom Izzo on that run to the national championship game. It's kind of interesting. You know, I saw Michigan State play. Saw them play today, actually. And they've got a kid from Texas, Matt McQuaid, playing for them at the shooting guard spot, who's going to be a very nice player. And right down the road from Lansing, Eric Davis Jr. decided to attend Texas.
And he was the one guy out of the group of Longhorns, both returning and the incoming recruiting class, who Shaka Smart said, I went to his house, spent a couple of days in Saginaw just to meet him and to get to know his family. But he told him, you should reopen your recruitment. You need to see whether you want to come to me or somebody else. And he was very open about the fact that to the Davis family, you need to re-evaluate what you're doing. And by the time Shaka left him, before he even made it back to Austin, the Davises were on the phone saying he's still coming.
Well, you know what's great about both, not only him, but also Kerwin Snoop Roach, is that these guys fit Shaka's style. You look at these young guards as well as some of the young talent that's coming in next year, and they fit the way he wants to play long term.
Yeah, they've got a tremendous class coming in next year. These freshmen were recruited by Rick Barnes and Rob Lanier, the guys on the staff back then. And like you say, they happen to fit very well with what Coach Smart is looking to do. Lammert off the nice feed.
Oh, great pass right through the zone by Isaiah Taylor, who is having an outstanding first half. And he has been very much under control. He's using that speed wisely, and his decision-making's been excellent.
Foul off the ball, and it goes against Eric Davis Jr.
Well, we've seen Isaiah Taylor do his magic offensively, but watch this pass right here. And Connor Lammert, the senior, says thank you very much.
Up 7 over Stanford on what is really the first big Saturday nationally of the college basketball season, and that includes 3 upsets of highly ranked teams.
Amazing day in New York at Madison Square Garden. Jakob Poeltl with a big day. Wes Washburn was just absolutely phenomenal tonight against Iowa State in Des Moines. Played that game on a neutral site at Wells Fargo. He's a kid that had a monster game against North Carolina when Northern Iowa upset the Tar Heels. So fun day. I saw Michigan State today play Northeastern. That was I talked to Tom Izzo afterwards, and the thing he said we have the most depth we've had in a long time. The other thing I thought was interesting, he said we may have to start cutting back Denzel Valentine's minutes because he's just carried us in the early season, and he's thinking about the long term. But Michigan State with 11-12 deep, really a team that I think is number 1 right now, but it's got a lot of room for improvement.
And I love the idea of what the Michigan State Athletic Department did with Northeastern to have so many of their athletes in Boston this week.
Exactly. Men's and women's basketball, hockey, playing against Northeastern. Great idea. There's that 2-3 zone again by Stanford. Again, shorthanded without Reed Travis, out tonight.
And thanks to their free throws, Stanford hanging around. They've made 11 of 12 so far, down by 5. And the defense with a takeaway.
Doesn't it feel like they're down 15?
It sure does.
Yeah. They've done a good job.
Well, Stanford's only put the ball through the basket 4 times. Inbound coming from the baseline for Roscoe Allen. And the Stanford Cardinal looking for their 4th straight win. Pickens. Nothing but net.
Yeah, I like this kid. Dorian Pickens, he had to watch a lot last year. Only played about 8 or 9 minutes a game. Backing up guys like Randall and Anthony Brown and getting an opportunity this year to really give Johnny Dawkins quality minutes.
Good look off the paint touch, but Kendall Yancey misfired his first shot attempt of the night. Takeaway there. Taylor, as fast as anybody in the country, and because of that, a chance for 3 for Kerwin Roach Jr.
Kerwin Roach Jr. did what he should do all season long if he's going to play with Isaiah Taylor. Just hightail it out of there and get up the court. Now watch Isaiah Taylor with a great steal. And Kerwin Roach comes into your picture. And a young man from Houston who is just an absolutely outstanding athlete. And I think personally the best NBA prospect on this team, although Eric Davis Jr. as well. Both of those guys, we mentioned it just a little while ago, they are perfectly suited for this style of play. So they would have been crazy to transfer.
Off the bounce, Sheffield, no. Texas up 4 with the basketball. Off the ball fake, Roach hangs in the air and able to score over the tremendous shot blocker.
And that's a good no call. You know what? The referees are not rewarding the offense this year for contact in the lane. A good finish by the freshman Roach. And good defense.
Sheffield spins along the baseline. Over Lambert, can't get the roll. Ball comes out to the Longhorns, and Roach 2-on-1. Dropping it off. The layup is good by Tevin Mack.
When you look at Roach and Davis and Mack, 3 really good players. Freshmen, you know, a lot of times when a coach takes over, you know, Tevin Mack signed at VCU and decided to follow Shaka Smart. The other 2 guys decided to follow their heart, come to Texas, and the byproduct is they get to play for Shaka Smart.
Now Texas controlling the paint, 20-4 the advantage. Again, Stanford has gotten most of its points right where they are at the moment at the free throw line. Josh Sharma, 7-footer from Lexington, Massachusetts, just a freshman into the game for the first time.
Doesn't see a lot of time, but promising future. He played his prep school basketball up at Northfield Mount Herman Prep up in Northwest Massachusetts for John Carroll. Great program up there.
Roscoe Allen makes his second long-range shot of the night, and the Cardinal hanging around with the Longhorns.
Listen, when you turn down Coach K and Roy Williams to go to Stanford, it means you're a pretty good player. And Roscoe Allen, highly recruited a couple years ago out of Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas.
The answer at the other end, and the lead stretches back to 7 thanks to Roach. The freshman out of North Shore High School in Houston now with 9 points.
Had the dunk of the year, in my opinion, in college basketball, the dunk against Texas Arlington early in the year.
Ball will go the other way with 4:16 remaining in the first half. Tuesday on ESPN, Capital One Bowl season rolls on, and we've got the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. Akron, Utah State at 3:30 Eastern. Then at 7, it's number 24 Temple and Toledo in the Marmot Boca Raton Bowl. It truly is the most wonderful time of the year. Both games also streaming live on Watch ESPN.
Terry Bowden's got Akron back in the bowl picture. Great to see.
And how about the resurgence of the Temple football program this year? They beat Penn State. They beat a lot of teams they never beat.
They did. Saturday night.
They did. Still ranked nationally. Pickens now with 13 points. Well, he played so well in the win against DePaul the other night.
Yes, he did.
Good energy, defense.
And he can score. That's what he was. He was the Gatorade Player of the Year in Arizona a couple of years ago. He really scores well, and we're seeing some of that in the first half.
And he was ranked 81st in the ESPN 100 2 years ago. Highly sought after. And the takeaway. Here comes Marcus Allen. 2-on-2. Little Euro step to the rim. The follow is no good. Texas with the ball up 4.
That zone has slowed Texas down a little bit. They're a little bit more deliberate than they were early in the game when they got out and ran. And Stanford has good size for this zone. They got big guards and cover space. See the size in the backcourt and the back line, I should say.
Yeah, both Allen twins in. Malcolm Allen has come into the ball game. Now he's got the basketball. He's the shorter of the twins. He's also 2 minutes older, by the way. They've been competing right from the start. But one is more a true point, and the other is more of a natural two-guard. As Coach Dawkins mentioned the other day, it makes sense to him because they both couldn't have played point growing up. They both couldn't have been twos. They had to play next to each other.
The Harrison twins at Kentucky, same way.
Sharma, the block shot.
Well, Stanford is staying in this ball game. Doug Sherman with some timely shooting. Roscoe Allen knocking one down, and then Dorian Pickens off the bench, giving Johnny Dawkins' club a huge lift down the stretch of this first half.
All right, thank you, guys. And Stanford hanging in this ball game, Fran Fraschilla, at both lines, the free throw line and the three-point line.
Absolutely. You mentioned earlier, not a lot of field goals made, only 7, but feels like they should be down bigger, but they have shot the ball well from the line. And this is a Stanford team that gets to the line quite a bit when you think about it. One of the best teams in the country at free throw attempts, and it's paying off for them tonight.
This is Tevin Mack at the line. Rebound Pickens. Now these two teams represent arguably the two best conferences in the country so far, between the Pac-12 and the Big 12.
Well, what makes this a big game is both of these teams, I look at them as bubble type teams. You know, neither one's ranked right now, but they're going to play great competition in their conferences. And this is a game in March. You look back and you say, hey, do we take Texas or Stanford? You just say, well, what happened head to head? Now, Reed Travis not playing tonight. Committee takes that into account, but all of these games matter. I was talking to Peter Roby today, the athletic director at Northeastern. He's on the basketball committee, and he said, big thing right now is not only who you beat, but where you beat them. And we were actually having a conversation about Monmouth and whether they can get an at-large bid based on those 4 great wins this year in the early going. Boy, what a night for this guy, huh?
16 points for the junior from South Hayward, California, only about 30 minutes from the Stanford campus.
Yep. You mentioned earlier, a young man who was not well known in the Bay Area his first couple years of high school, so he transferred to the Village School in Houston, where he really blossomed.
Nice strong drive by Malcolm Allen. First 3 points for the 6'1" junior off the bench.
And Mom was a gymnast at Stanford, and Dad was a football player at Vanderbilt. Both are now doctors, and I'm sure it was a big thrill when both of these young men were offered scholarships by Johnny Dawkins to attend Stanford U. How about Mack?
Freshman from Columbia, South Carolina, makes the lead 8 once again. 7 off the bench for number 0.
All 3 of these Texas freshmen were top 60 recruits, and all contributing tonight in this first half.
Pickens fouled, coming around the screen by Mack. Well, you mentioned a second ago Monmouth. Okay, they've gotten wins over UCLA, USC, Georgetown, and Notre Dame.
Yes.
This school from the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. Is it possible that they could be the 3rd team out of the MAC to get the rare at-large this year?
Well, I know who the first team was.
I'm sitting with the guy who orchestrated
in 1995.
That's right.
And yeah, absolutely, because they absolutely, I watched the game the other night. They dismantled Georgetown at Georgetown. And, you know, they beat a good Notre Dame team. They beat a USC team that's played pretty good basketball this year. And I think the key, and you know, talking to Peter Roby today on the basketball committee, now they just got to take care of business in Metro Atlantic play. But these wins in November and December should really be important. And do I think they can get an at-large bid? I absolutely think they can. Now, you don't want to lose 4 or 5 or 6 Metro Atlantic games during the year. But I have a feeling they're not going to, Doug, based on that team. Justin Robinson and Colin Stewart and Oklahoma transfer Jelon Hornbeek. That is a good club coached by King Rice.
Final shot missed by Texas, but the Longhorns go to the locker room up by 6. Isaiah Taylor leading the way for the Longhorns.
Well, the homecoming's been good for Isaiah Taylor, and Dorian Pickens 15 for Johnny Dawkins. He's keeping the Cardinal in this game.
Our halftime score, Texas 41, Stanford 35. Time for the Kay Jewelers halftime report. Here is Brendan Fitzgerald and Adrian Branch.
You're watching ESPN's Holiday Hoops, presented by Kay Jewelers.
With Fran Fraschilla, I'm Doug Sherman in Stanford, California. The Longhorns with a 6-point lead over the Cardinal. And the man of the hour so far has been Isaiah Taylor in his homecoming game back in the Bay Area. And Fran, he has been terrific.
Both scoring the ball and also passing it, but this is what you see out of this guy tonight. He's got great quickness end to end tonight. Very under control around the basket. Also dropping 5 dimes, coming up with a couple steals. And you like the way he's playing back home in the Bay Area. And he's got Texas on top by 6.
They're the leading scorers here at halftime. Dorian Pickens coming off the bench in the first half with 15 points. He will start half number 2 for Stanford.
He's had a good week of basketball. 16 points against DePaul earlier in the week. 15 already. The sophomore out of Phoenix has been very impressive.
One thing Stanford has not gotten is offensive production out of Marcus Allen. He has only 2 points. Came in averaging 14. He was one of the guys knocking down shots in that DePaul win. He has yet to hit anything from the perimeter.
And that's a good sign. If you're a coach like Johnny Dawkins, you're in the locker room telling him, hey, keep playing your game. We're only down 6, and you haven't given us much yet. So they'll try to get him going.
Humphrey with the basketball. Here's Pickens trying to find Roscoe Allen, who comes out to set the screen. Pickens goes away from it. Christian Sanders starting at the point again, and off the ball is Marcus Allen, number 15 in white. Stanford with 5 on the shot clock. On the switch, the nice recovery by Ridley with the block shot as the horn sounded for the 30-second shot clock violation.
It's interesting. They probably are not going to review this. You see Ridley with another block, but it looked like that clock was at 1 and the ball was already out of bounds. They did set it. They did reset it to 1. And just my coach's intuition, the antenna went up.
Let's see if they can get any sort of shot off here.
What play do you have here? This is something you work on all the time. This is a lob play right here.
Well, they got Humphrey inside.
And the lob is there. The lob is there. Oh, he got it.
Corner catch and shoot. Pickens able to get it off, but he hit the side of the backboard. So it is now a shot clock violation. But what have you thought of the Texas defense now having forced 9 turnovers tonight?
Well, I think it's been solid, but they've also given up opportunities for Stanford to get to the line, and they haven't defended the 3-point line as well as maybe Shaka Smart would have wanted.
Ridley trying to handle the pass inside, fouled from behind by Michael Humphrey.
Texas has only given up 67 points this year, holding teams under 40%. So, again, it's less havoc, more half-court oriented, in part, Doug, because they have more length and shot blocking ability with this particular Texas team.
Runner by Taylor. Again, nothing but net. He picks up in the second half where he left off in the first.
And he's really got a good floater right there. A runner, you saw it right there. Released that ball with one hand.
Roscoe Allen loves to spin, able to do that under control, bring it back out for Stanford, down by 8.
And they usually isolate him at the elbow area. We'll see some of that, I bet, in the second half.
Off the bounce, Christian Sanders. Shot clock down to 6. Allen up and in.
Well, he's got the size, Marcus Allen. We know he's got the speed, but he's sturdy, well built, can get inside like he did. And a good pass.
He missed the first couple games of this season for Stanford with a foot injury. Made his debut against a very good SMU team. Ridley misfires, rebound Stanford. Cardinal with it, down by 6. Stanford's got itself a 5-3 record, looking for its 4th win in a row for 8th-year head coach Johnny Dawkins. Pickens, nice job, couldn't finish. Ridley may have gotten a piece of it. Tries again with Humphrey going over the top, and Texas's defense holds again.
Yeah, Ridley didn't get a block shot there, but he definitely challenged Humphrey's shot.
Felix still without his first bucket. He had 2 fouls in that first half. We haven't called his name much.
No, and that's why we saw those young freshmen play so well for Shaka Smart early.
Six to shoot. Marcus Allen, no. Here come the Longhorns. Taylor can't get the roll, but the tip is good.
DeMarcus Holland was Johnny on the spot right there. And we haven't talked about him tonight, but 4-year guy, outstanding defender. Does a great Shaka Smart impression.
Foul against Felix, and that'll be his 3rd.
And both of these teams struggled early in the season. And as you mentioned earlier, Doug, both are playing really good basketball right now.
Now Texas riding a 5-game winning streak. They have traveled 20,000 miles already this year, to China, to the Bahamas, now to Northern California right before Christmas. But this is their first true road game of the year. Another block shot by Ridley. His second officially.
You saw Allen tried to draw some contact, but the officials weren't biting there.
Steal by Holland. Taylor brings it back out. Open look. Felix. Off the side of the rim and out of bounds. Back over to Stanford. Well, for Stanford, they are in one of the better conferences in the country in the Pac-12. As a unit, they have combined to win 79% of their games so far, second best in the country, only behind the Big 12. And what do you make of Stanford? Where do you place them right now, Fran?
Well, I'll tell you, there's 9 teams I think right now better than Stanford at this point, because it's a deep league. Now, when I say deep, Arizona is a good team, not a great team. Everybody else is a team that can contend for an NCAA bid. I think this is a 5-bid league this year, but there's going to be 9 or 10 teams fighting for those bids, because they're going to knock each other off during conference play. But you look at Arizona and Oregon. You know, UCLA's had some big wins. They lost today, obviously. Utah, Oregon State, Wayne Tinkle's team's got a young team. Johnny Dawkins' team is a young team with some talent. But it's a deep league this year, and better than it's been, but there's no great teams.
Well, what do you make of like a UCLA? I mean, they've had some really good wins, but some not so good losses.
Well, I saw them in Maui, and they played poorly, and then they come back and they beat Kentucky, and they've had a couple quality wins since then. And then obviously lost to North Carolina today. I think the key to UCLA is Steve Alford's got to find a way to get that team to play at a high level of intensity every single night. When we were in Maui and they lost to Wake Forest, I went to the press conference to hear Steve and Tony Parker, his senior. Steve was making excuses about the officiating, and it wasn't, you know, it was 42-14 in terms of free throw attempts. And I don't want to say he was making excuses. He wasn't happy with it. But Tony Parker said, no, we're soft. And if they play soft, they're going to lose games they shouldn't lose. If they play hard, they got a lot of talent, and they should be an NCAA team.
Marcus Allen, a moment ago, had a steal, couldn't finish off the turnover. So Texas with the ball up by 6. Off the up fake. The lane was open, and Kerwin Roach able to lay it in.
The reason the lane was open is there was so much concentration of white jerseys on Cam Ridley that when Roach drove, there was nobody in position to help.
Malcolm Allen off the bench with his twin brother. Here's Marcus. Picks up his dribble, has to bring it out to Humphrey with a clean look. Able to bury it.
Boy, that's pretty good from Michael Humphrey, who, you know, you don't associate him with knocking down a lot of threes. Only his second of the season. I think he's 2 for 5 now.
And he makes a bigger mark on the defensive end. Tremendous shot blocker. Alters a lot of shots.
He's a late bloomer, too. really didn't come on in his high school season, his career, until late in his career. Nice move inside by the senior Prince Ebay.
Two-time all Big 12 academic out of Garland, Texas. First 2 points here tonight. 49-42 Longhorns.
That's a foul.
Taylor whistled, defending Malcolm Allen.
Well, Prince Ebay, the senior, they get it down low to him. He uses his size, finishing over Michael Humphrey. Texas by 7.
Lions.
Hoops presented by K Jewelers. Texas with a 7-point lead over Stanford, and Cardinal head coach Johnny Dawkins really was a cornerstone to a college basketball dynasty in Durham, North Carolina. Fran.
If you're not old enough to remember, this guy was the guy, probably the most consequential recruit in the history of Duke basketball. We think of Duke now of, you know, Danny Ferry and J.J. Redick and all the great players that have come after this guy. But in the class of '86, Mike Krzyzewski in his second year was 27 and 30. And he brought in a 6-man group. Of course, our own Jay Billis was part of that team, and Mark Oury. But Johnny Dawkins was the best player in Washington, D.C., one of the best players to ever come out of that city. And he really did, in my mind, turn Duke basketball around, because he was Coach K's first McDonald's All-American. He was a 2,500-point scorer. He was an NBA lottery pick. And he made the decision to go to Duke. It was really more of faith in Coach K than anything else, because there was no Coach K back then.
No.
There was a third-year coach at Duke on the hot seat. And if you talk to guys like Jay Billis and Coach K himself, they'll tell you that Johnny Dawkins was the guy that basically turned Duke basketball around. Obviously, other players came after, Tommy Amaker, Danny Ferry, but Johnny just a fabulous, fabulous college player, national player of the year. You know, led Duke to the Final Four in '86, almost knocked off that Louisville team, and a lot to be said for his impact on Duke basketball.
And his defense at Stanford forces the shot clock violation. He had a really nice pro career as well.
Averaged about 15 points a game in his career, and you know, really, when you think of Washington, D.C., think of all the great players that came out of there. Adrian Danley, Austin Carr, going back 40 years ago, Danny Ferry, so many others. Johnny Dawkins is right there with them, and he's done a good job here at Stanford. They're in postseason. You know, I think Stanford fans would like to see him be in the dance a little bit more, but he's got 2 NIT finals, a Sweet 16.
Speaking of D.C. kids, as we've got an offensive foul, the greatest Longhorn of all time is a D.C. kid.
Prince George's County. Yep, Kevin Durant, absolutely.
Well, his team, the Stanford Cardinal, looking to improve to 6-3 on the year, coming off an impressive win last time out against the DePaul Blue Demons, and looking for what could be a real resume building type non-conference win here tonight. Down 7. They've been playing from behind from the start. Texas scored the first 7 points of the ball game. Stanford took 5 minutes to finally get on the board, and then they've just kind of played back and forth ever since.
And amazing, if you get down 7-0, you wind up losing the game by 7. You go, hey, we played them even for 38 minutes. But that's not how the game works.
Malcolm Allen the steal. Roscoe Allen off the crossover, able to hang and lay it in.
And he's become really their go-to scorer. Just a sophomore, he's got a lot of versatility because he can score in different ways.
Ball's loose. Cardinal able to secure it. And a whistle. There will be a foul against Holland. Well, the bench, the young guys for Stanford played well in the DePaul game. We see some of that here tonight.
Well, most of this team is a young team when you really think about it. You know, and this guy, Roscoe Allen, has really turned out to be a good player. And he's a great story. You know, his dad was in the oil business, worked all over the world, and especially Europe. Met his mom. She's Hungarian. He lived his first 12 years in Hungary. He would speak Hungarian at school, English at home. And at 12 years old, his grandfather was ill in Las Vegas, so they moved the family to Las Vegas. And so he's a Hungarian American. I bet we see him on the Hungarian national team someday.
I would think. He is the
Not that
leading...
you can name anybody on that
No,
team.
you could, though. You could name
a couple guys.
Absolutely, you could. You are ESPN's guru for international basketball.
But I'm not a guru for goulash.
The follow slam by Ridley. And the big fella's got his first 2 points of the second half. The lead back to 7.
You can see how well he ran and how light on his feet. The 6'10", 290-pound Cam Ridley.
And again, Fran, he says he feels bouncier this year. That's his word, and you see it right there.
Absolutely.
Marcus Allen back out for the perimeter 3, and the Cardinals still hanging in there, thanks to the long-range shooting of Roscoe Allen, now with 15 points. And the answer at the other end for the Longhorns. Roach now with 14 points.
Now, this is as consistent as I've seen Kerwin Roach play all season long. He's got a plethora of different offensive skills, but he's put a lot of things together tonight, including shooting that ball well.
Well, he has matched his career high. The freshman scored 14 against UT San Antonio. He's got 14 right now.
Well, for Texas, it's a little bit of old, little bit of new. Cam Ridley running the floor, getting the little tip in right here. And you talk about light on your feet if you're 290 pounds, pretty good. And Kerwin Roach, they call him Snoop in Houston, and he's snooping that hoop right now. And it's holiday hoops. Merry Christmas.
Monday, the most wonderful time of the year, continues with the Miami Beach Bowl at 2:30 Eastern on ESPN. Marlon Mack leads South Florida up against Western Kentucky. The Hilltoppers 11-2. The game also streaming live on Watch ESPN. With Fran Fraschilla, I'm Doug Sherman. Stanford trying to hang with the Texas Longhorns in this battle of the Pac-12 conference between the Big 12 conference. Isaiah Taylor, the big story in the first half, but Stanford, with a combination of their free throw shooting and their three-point shooting, Fran, are hanging around.
Shot the ball very, very well. Good inbounds play right there. Snuck one inside on that Texas defense. And I said it in the first half, Doug, you know, it feels like Texas should be up about 15, but Stanford has done a good job of staying in this game.
Foul against the Longhorns.
And that's what freshman, well, that's DeMarcus Holland right there getting out of control. And he's not going to last very long. He'll head to the bench. And Shaka Smart saying, what are you seeing defensively? He's not even worried about the charge. He was talking about the defensive end, if you noticed.
Malcolm Allen to his twin brother Marcus. Not identical, couple inches difference. And the takeaway. Back the other way, Kerwin Roach. And Roach, as mentioned, has matched his career high for the freshman. 3 for the Longhorns, and it's the first time that Felix has put one through the cylinder.
And he's had a big week. We talked about that great performance against North Carolina. Early foul trouble slowed him down. The freshmen have picked up the slack.
Off the bounce, the reverse missed by Sheffield. But one of the things about Felix is that he's got a level of poise out there. We saw that. I mean, he knows what's going on. If I hit this shot, we can beat the Tar Heels.
Exactly.
He calmly just knocks it down.
Well, he's had a good, solid, underrated 4-year career at Texas. He's had some big moments.
Good high-low. And Ridley throws it down.
There's that bounce you talked about, but that started because of a great pass from Connor Lammert. And you should have seen Shaka Smart on the bench. He went right down the sideline, slapping everybody 5. But it started with a high-low. Watch Connor Lammert find Ridley inside. Good delivery. Yes, big fella, you are light on your feet.
This has a 10-point lead on the road over Stanford as we head toward the Christmas holiday. And Fran, the number of unbeatens left around the country continues to dwindle.
Exactly. Iowa State got beat tonight by Northern Iowa. You see Oklahoma's on their way to the Diamond Head Classic. Xavier I love. I think they're a Final Four type team. SMU not eligible for the NCAA tournament. I saw them thrash Michigan a couple weeks ago. My man, Frank Martin, now he's 10-0, and it's Christmas time. He better not wear that ugly Christmas sweater he wore last year. Frank, if you're up late back on the East Coast watching this game, you better, I hope you've burned that sweater, or at least, you know, maybe he auctions it off for charity.
If the Gamecocks keep winning, Frank can wear whatever he wants.
That's true. That's true.
So you're real high on Xavier.
No, they're outstanding.
You're buying in all the way on the Musketeers.
They're a complete basketball team, and and the other thing is they play with great toughness.
Following the entry pass against Humphrey.
Xavier, Chris Mack is, you know, he's probably got his best team he's had in a couple of years. Xavier, you know, many years going back to the Pete Gillen days, Skip Prosser, they're like an automatic Sweet 16 team.
Yep.
They've been to the Sweet 16 so many times. But I do like that team.
Off the curl, Taylor remains hot. This is the largest lead of the ball game for the Horns. Less than 9 minutes remaining, and with the Longhorns on that run, the Cardinal teetering on the brink here. Yes. They need some buckets to hang in this one. They've gone to the right man there, and Roscoe Allen.
Well, we talked about isolating him, and they haven't done it as much in this game, but right there was a perfect example. Just create some space and let him use that length and size and ability to shoot over smaller players, which is what he did. Stanford goes back to that zone. Texas has been very patient versus that zone tonight. You see they're working the two post players, doing a nice job of moving it side to side.
Ball kicked out of bounds. Stanford with the takeaway. 12th turnover. And there's Coach Smart, 1999 graduate of Kenyon College, still only 38 years old, native of Madison, Wisconsin. Bright guy, great student back in the day, and student of the game as well.
He was accepted to a number of Ivy League schools to play. That was a good fake right there. You know what? That's a good no call.
And explain why that's a good no call.
Well, because the way it looked to me was Roscoe Allen was trying to create the contact, and it looked like he jumped into the defender. Now, the key here is that, see, if he stays vertically and it's close because I think the reason the official didn't make that call is he felt the offensive player jumped into the defensive player. They're trying to get away from that this year.
Nice look inside, and a trip to the free throw lineup coming for Kerwin Roach Jr. after we step away from the farm. Longhorns up 10 over the Cardinal.
Exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by K Jewelers. Every kiss begins with K. And Cialis.
There's a good look at the Computer History Museum on the Stanford campus. Cardinal down 10, trailing Texas 61-51. With Fran Fraschilla, I'm Doug Sherman. Stanford's shooting percentage, pretty good. They've gotten to the free throw line a lot. But why is Texas winning this basketball game?
You know what? They've shot just well enough from the perimeter. They've done a good job there, and I think they've been fairly proficient in terms of getting up down the court, getting some easy baskets, scoring inside. By the way, you think they know a little bit about computers in Silicon Valley? Computer History Museum would be a great place to put a museum like that. And
well, among the notables in the building tonight, the 2003 consensus.
Shaka's tie's got to be higher.
Player of the year.
You see where the tie was?
I did.
He's got to be down by the belt.
I did.
Now, this guy doesn't have to. He's not wearing a tie tonight. This guy is a lot like Johnny Dawkins in that he chose to go to Texas. You know, Tom Penders did a terrific job at Texas, and then they had a little bit of a lull, and this guy was recruited by every major school in the country, and Rick Barnes sold him on re-energizing the basketball program, and TJ Ford certainly did that. National Player of the Year, Final Four.
Had a good NBA career that was unfortunately shortened because of the neck issue. But in the building tonight, supporting his Longhorns. Sanders runs into a brick wall, and a blocking foul is called. Was Lammert inside the arc. NBA Christmas Day, the NBA tradition continues on ABC and ESPN with 5 of the best games you could ask for a holiday. The quintuple header starting at noon Eastern on ESPN. All games, of course, streaming live on Watch ESPN.
I'll tell you quietly, the Spurs are having a tremendous year. Everybody's talking about Golden State and the one loss, and the Spurs integrating LaMarcus Aldridge into that lineup. Kawhi Leonard becoming an NBA star. You know, there's always some Kansas Jayhawk fans watching college basketball late at night. This young man's dad, Brad Sanders, was a very good player, role player on some good Jayhawk teams in the late 70s.
He was a captain.
Yeah, played for Ted Owens, played with Darnell Valentine, who was a great player, and Christian Sanders. That family moved to Houston and played at St. Thomas High School. Fran, you looked at him a little bit.
You mentioned LaMarcus Aldridge. So if you're ranking your all-time Longhorns, where does he fit in? We were just talking about TJ Ford. We mentioned Kevin Durant
wasn't bad. Yeah,
not bad, but he had the 1 year there where the other guys were there longer. Where are you ranking those guys, and is there anybody I'm leaving out?
Well, LaSalle Thompson had a great career. You know, they just honored the 1990 Longhorn team, BMW. This week with Lance Blanks, Joey Wright, Travis Mays. Those guys were terrific. You know, Rick Barnes had DJ Augustine as well.
Lead stretches back to double figures, 64-52. Well, the man who was carrying the offense for Stanford in the first half knocks down the big three here.
Again, Johnny Dawkins playing a lot of good young players. Dorian Perkins having a career night.
He had 16 off the bench last time against DePaul. He's now bettered that tonight with 18. Corner three rattles out on Davis. Here comes Stanford back the other way. Roscoe Allen gives it up, gets it back, tries to drive baseline, gives it to Humphrey in the lane. He rises up, left it short. Pickens back out front. Into traffic. Ball lost out of bounds by Marcus Allen. Stanford will keep it with 27 on the shot clock.
Yeah, I thought Marcus Allen had a chance to shoot that ball and had a good look at a three. That might have been the play right there. But he's a very good player at attacking the basket because of that size and strength.
He's shooting 41% on the year from beyond the three-point line, and he was so good against the Blue Demons the other night, but we've not seen him find that range so far here tonight.
Texas is, because of the lateness of this game out on the West Coast, they're going to stay overnight, not take the red eye back, their private charter flight, and they're going to stay over, get a good night's sleep, and then head back to Texas in the morning. And Shaka Smart told us yesterday he's got a tradition at this time of year to have all the players and staff members over his house for a holiday party, and they'll all be at his house for a Christmas party Sunday. I'm gonna get a chance to see them against UConn on the 29th. Big shot right there.
Pickens again picking it up. He's got 21.
Yeah. Now they're doing this without Reed Travis, and certainly you know, Robert Cartwright, their point guard, out for the season. Compound fracture before the season got underway.
And as you mentioned, Fran, a stress reaction in the left leg, the same leg that kept Travis out last year. As the Stanford medical team being cautious here, sitting him out for this ball game tonight. Jump ball. The defense for Stanford forces the turnover.
What's amazing to me is, and I've said this a number of times tonight, it just feels like Texas has been in control the whole night, and you look up and Stanford's in a two-possession game with plenty of time.
Well, you mentioned Shaka Smart said that he's going to be hosting his team. It's something he did at VCU every year for the Christmas holiday. He's going to do that on Sunday. And we also talked to Johnny Dawkins about his holiday plans, and he always feels it's so important to make sure his kids not just get a day or two break, but they get away for a while.
These are the hardest games of the season. There's two parts of the year that are difficult for coaches and players. Right before Christmas, because you just come off exams. These kids are human. A lot of them haven't been home since the summer. They're thinking of families. They want to get away. And then the other time I think is always tough is middle of February when you're in the dog days of conference play. But I have seen more upsets this time of year because a lot of times the players go home in mind and not in body.
Yep.
And they don't tell the coach.
Ridley was able to get the shot off the inbound to avoid the shot clock violation, but couldn't get it in. So Stanford's defense holds down 6. Stanford's in the midst of a long stretch, Fran, where they're not off the farm for a game for 6 weeks. Humphrey with a tough runner.
I think Michael Humphrey probably wanted to use the backboard there, but was able to just get that ball right in.
Now, he was going against Cam Ridley, who steered him in a different direction, just happy to get it up.
Yep.
The 8-0 Stanford run makes it the closest we've had since 7-2 at the start. Let's see what Isaiah Taylor can do. He loses his footing, able to keep the basketball, and goes back to get it with 8 to shoot.
I'm anxious to see how poised Texas is down the stretch.
Deep 3. Mack no. Pickens the rebound for the Cardinal.
Last Saturday they won a big emotional game against North Carolina. That was a step in the right direction. This next 4.5 minutes for Texas just as important. Chance to win a road game that they've controlled throughout. Stanford is not letting them get away.
Much like their big win a couple of weeks ago in Brooklyn against Arkansas, Stanford trying to rally from double figures down. Ridley makes sure Stanford doesn't cut into that lead. It's still a 4-point ball game.
Now, we talked about how well Isaiah Taylor has played so far tonight. It's going to be really important for him to run this team down the stretch. Make sure they get good shots every possession.
He rises up. Way off the mark. Pickens. Humphrey's on the floor. Ridley's after it. And the whistle comes with blood over the left eye of Michael Humphrey. We'll take a break with 3:49 left in regulation. Can the Cardinal complete the comeback, trailing the Longhorns by 4? Texas scored the first 7 points tonight. They've led by double figures, but the Cardinal back to within 4, Fran.
And they have really battled Texas, particularly, you know, in the paint and especially in the second half. And Michael Humphrey is he's no worse for the wear after tangling with Cam Ridley, but I like the way they battle. Take a look right here. Just watch them battle inside, Humphrey and Ridley. And Ridley just accidentally right here gets tangled up with Michael Humphrey. They get the cut man out. I doubt he said, "Cut me, Mick." But Michael Humphrey should be a tough guy. Was a high school quarterback, right?
Yeah, before he grew to be 6'9" and got steered towards basketball. But he, with that timeout, able to not miss any court time. A valuable player on both ends for Stanford as they try to come all the way back. Well, we saw the Texas full court pressure give Stanford a lot of trouble, especially early. Now they drop back.
Let's look for an ISO right here for Roscoe Allen, right there at the elbow. That's where they like to get it to him, let him clear out.
Pickens works the baseline. Ridley steps up to defend. And it's Longhorns basketball.
As well as Dorian Pickens has played tonight, that step back over Ridley, probably not the shot you could get with that much time on the clock, but he's been feeling it.
And that shot inside snaps the drought for the Longhorns.
Texas is up 6, Doug, and they're not in the bonus yet. But remember, Cam Ridley shoots 39% from the free throw line. And that's something you want to keep in mind here in the final 3 minutes.
And he's the guy who Shaka Smart says by far he has been our best player this year. Right there, he couldn't stop the layup. Stanford back within 4 thanks to Marcus Allen. Oh, we see it so much in the NBA with different players who can't make free throws. What do you do in this situation if you're Shaka Smart? You've got a player like this who you don't want to have go to the free throw line.
Right now, you want to get Cam Ridley back in the half-court offense because I think he had to go put his shoe back on. But well, you just want to play straight up right now. If you get down into the final minute or so and you have to get him, that's a tough shot right there.
Taylor puts it back in off the Felix miss. Big possession for the Longhorns.
And a big missed opportunity for Stanford, who had a chance to cut this lead to 2 or 1.
Marcus Allen, driving dish to Humphrey. Right to the rim.
Ridley slow on the closeout. Humphrey went right by him.
Playing through the pain of that cut over his left eye a moment ago. Taylor with the left hand, this time can't finish. Ridley again.
How quick was he? That's where that conditioning really pays off. Quick off his feet. Of course, he's already got the requisite size to dominate inside.
Getting close to another double-double. Humphrey again with the putback this time.
Because Ridley has to come over and challenge on the drive, it's allowing Michael Humphrey to roam free at the rim. Another tip-in.
And then the foul given to Isaiah Taylor by Sanders. And that is just the 5th team foul for the Cardinal. Texas has only 6 team fouls right now.
So Stanford may give another one here quickly to get to the bonus, and then they can decide whether to foul for the 7th foul, which would be opportunistic if they can get Ridley fouled, or they can play out the possession. So I would foul right now, and there it is. Now they've got to make the decision with 51 seconds or so. Do they play the possession out, get a stop and push it, try to score, cut it to 2 or 1, or do they foul immediately? Well, one thing I would do right here is I would bait Texas into throwing the ball to Cam Ridley. I'd play as far off, even right now, play as far, look at this, play as far off of him as possible so that you bait them into throwing it to him.
Felix with the basketball. Guarded by Pickens.
So they're not fouling. They're going to play straight up. They must grab the defensive rebound if there's a miss.
Or steal it.
Man.
Here comes Humphrey.
Wow.
3 straight baskets for the big fella. The Cardinal within 2.
And now you have to foul.
Well, that'll work.
Absolutely. Watch this really soft helium pass that Michael Humphrey just shoots through that lane. And you see that athletic ability.
Well, he has played better since taking the shot to the face. Playing big down the stretch for Stanford. He has scored 6 straight points, including a couple of slam dunks. And now Texas, if it's going to hang on, is going to have to do it from the free throw line.
And the next couple of free throw opportunities are going to be 1-and-1s. That free throw makes it moot. Now, Doug, if you're down 4 and you're Johnny Dawkins, rather than a contested 3, we've talked about this, lots of ways to do it, go to the rim, get the sure 2. See, I'd have Marcus Allen with the ball in my hands here because he's more of the driver. And there it is.
Nice job by Ridley to defend without fouling. And so now the free throws will come once again for the Longhorns. TJ Ford helping the fellow Longhorn back up off the floor.
And that burnt orange blood is thicker than water right there.
There's TJ Ford, the Longhorns great consensus National Player of the Year. What was that? 13 years ago. So we just saw the junior Isaiah Taylor knocked down 2. The freshman Roach can't make the first. And then the foul given up by the Longhorns.
And that's a foul you don't want to commit if you're a senior. Connor Lammert is going to give Stanford an opportunity to cut this lead to 2 and really virtually no time off the clock. Connor Lammert has had a really good senior year and one of those guys who's gained a lot of confidence from this coaching staff. But right there, he's got to know better.
Roscoe Allen will get the bonus.
Well, right now, what you got is Ridley, the very poor foul shooter. Everybody else reasonably good. But you can't take any time off the clock. Johnny Dawkins, looks like Texas will call a timeout. Stanford doesn't have any left.
So what's the discussion there in the Stanford huddle right now?
Well, you're hoping and assuming Roscoe Allen cuts it to 2. If he misses the free throw, you foul right away anyway. If he cuts it to 2, you set up your pressure, and you got to foul the first guy you can because you don't want time to bleed off the clock. It's still a 1-and-1 when Texas goes to the line, I believe. And so you're going to foul immediately. But the one thing before you foul, I always taught my guys, as long as we're going to foul, let's try to steal it.
Sure.
And let's go for the ball. Don't just whack the guy across the arm. Grab the ball, try to pull it out of his hands, and then we foul.
Stanford has the possession arrow, as you see. They have never led in the ball game. It's never been tied. They trailed 7-0 out of the shoot. Roscoe Allen with his second foul shot. It's good.
What the other thing you do here is exactly what Johnny Dawkins did. You sub on the made free throw to allow yourself to get a quicker team in there and set up your pressure. And that's why you see the freshman Sheffield on the ball.
Lammert gets it in. Felix fouled. Not much time went off the clock, so Felix will head to the line. The senior for the first time here tonight.
He's a pretty good free throw shooter.
Well, I'd say he's perfect this year. How about 8 for 8?
Yep.
Coming up next, NBA Tonight here on ESPN2 as soon as we wrap up from Maples Pavilion on the campus of Stanford.
I just mentioned it. I wanted you to look at your stat sheet because this guy is perfect on the season. And he remains perfect.
Yes, he does, Fran. 9 for 9. Now, he is averaging 11 points per game. He's off to a great start shooting the basketball this year, but 2 big free throws here. Got the first.
See Shaka with the blue shirt. Never wear a blue shirt in a hot gym. Now, push it. You don't need a 3. If you go right for the quick 2, you can set up your pressure.
Marcus Allen. Denied by Cam Ridley.
Okay, now you may need a 3-point shot here. Okay, I like the idea of getting the quick 2, except you got the shot blocker there. Now with 10 seconds, it changes things a little bit. I would get this ball in bounds, and hopefully they have a play that they've worked on without having to call a timeout where they can get a 3-point look right here.
Sanders, the trigger man on the baseline. Quick release for Pickens, and we're tied at 73.
There's no way Texas should have allowed Pickens to be open.
Isaiah Taylor takes it to the basket, up and over Humphrey, and it puts the Longhorns back in front.
Now, if you're Stanford now, allow the official to hand you the ball and get everybody down the court so you can run your UB Brown home run play. Now, this could be a great homecoming for Taylor, but you're out of timeouts. So do you have a home run play that you can throw the length of the floor right here? And that's what the stoppage in play has done for Stanford. And we have a... Now, neither team shot the lights out tonight.
No.
Okay?
But because of the wet floor, Humphrey went down, and that's where we get the delay. Now, Humphrey, the former high school quarterback, will be the trigger man, and he's the guy you want inbounding this ball here with 1.1 on the clock.
And if they score here, you know who the MVP is? The electrician, okay? Because this has given Stanford a chance to run a last-second play.
A 2 to tie, a 3 to win for Roscoe Allen. An incredible finish to the ball game, and Shaka Smart's team wins its 6th in a row.
Well, Stanford tied this game off that inbounds play. Dorian Pickens with just an absolutely great night. Take a look right here. Shoots this over Taylor. And what you love here? Shaka Smart, this is how you draw, this is how you gain confidence in your team. They don't call timeout. He allows Isaiah Taylor to not let Stanford set up their defense. He goes coast to coast, and he banks a shot off the glass in front of about 50 friends and family. And what a great homecoming for Isaiah Taylor.
Young man from South Hayward, California, the East Bay, comes back to Northern California with 26 points, one off his career high, including the game winner with just 1 second on the clock. Once again, our final score, Texas defeats Stanford 75-73. Coming up next, NBA Tonight. But first, let's head back to the studio.